All right, a lovely good morning, and this is the Press Wall. This is the first edition of the Press Wall for 2023, and I want to say Happy New Year to all those who managed to make it to today, and for those who are not fine, we want to say that may God actually speed in your recovery, and for those who lost their loved ones, a lot of accidents that happened in 2022 coming into 2023, including an accident that happened along Kampala Gulu Highway. So lives of about 17 people lose their lives there. So sad, and others are admitted. Quite a big number there of people admitted. It's so sad, but that's life, and we just pray that God comforts the relatives, family members, and friends to those who lost their lives there. But yes, there's a lot of information that happened all over the week, and this is the show that actually looks and analyzes at, those events. And if I start from, maybe let me start from Africa, and then we'll come to Uganda. But before we even went on air, there was already a conversation here heated talking about the elections that are happening in America, even when I wanted to start in Africa, about the failed bid again. This is the 14th bid that has failed for McCarthy to become the speaker in the United States, but just one vote. But, well, that is democracy. That's what it says. And maybe in other stories, we saw that the M23 started pulling out from key army bases in DRC. We saw in Tanzania President Suluhu lifting a ban on public gatherings. There were many clashes in Somaliland, which saw a number of people there lose their lives. Sudan and Chad closed their borders because of security issues. There's so much that you can find also on our New Vision website, which is newvision.co.ug. All that information I've been talking about can be found there. Alternatively, you can download the Vision Digital Experience app, and you get those stories minute by minute. Alternatively, if you're also moving out of your house, the same app that you've downloaded, you can use it to watch us on the Press Wall as we look at the things, the big stories that happened within the week. And coming home to Uganda, Parliament approved a committee that will be censuring Pacis Namganza there. And we also had a number of accidents, of course, that I've talked about. But we want to look at the biggest thing that drives this country, which is the economy. It's the biggest sector that you would want to be. If it's vibrant, then the country will move forward. If it is not, then the country will definitely collapse. And recently, actually on December 15th, around 15th, the World Bank released a report on how the economy of Uganda has been performing. And they had projected the economy to grow up to about 3%, but the economy of Uganda grew by 4%. That means it went up than it was expected, but the projection of 2023 is looked at as 5.5%. But all those are coined on things like trade, that is on the African Free Trade Area, the deals that have been signed with different countries. Are we able to add value on our goods if we want to export them and benefit more from them? First of all, are the treaties that we already have with other countries like the East African Committee, are they functioning, and what is the problem on that? Could those hinder the 5.5%? I don't know. But in studio, of course, I have people who sit and discuss these issues in different places wherever they go. And if you look at my right here, my immediate right, that is a person who has always visited us here a number of times. That is Mr. Julius Mukunda, who is the ED of CS Bank. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Fine. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I become excited about the year when it's the financial year. Because this January has never been exciting at all. People have spent a lot of money in December, so everywhere you go, you don't get gigs, jobs, and say, let's see as the year goes by. They start discussing money in June when they're concluding.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Happy New Year, though. Glad to have you here. And next to Mr. Julius is Mr. Francis Chisiranyi, who is the Director Membership Private Sector Foundation of Uganda. Good morning.
Good morning, Dylan, and good morning, our viewers.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. Thank you for finding some time at least and come and be part of our first edition of the press wall this year. And on the right of Mr. Francis is the Honorable Basil Kiza from
No. Basil.
Basil.
Batariengaya.
Oh,
Chiza is the old one.
is the old name.
Yes.
Thanks for the correction, Honorable Basil. Good morning.
Basil Bataringaya Rwankwene.
Wankwene.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Which one's still?
So we've learned a new name from him today.
Yes.
Welcome, Honorable.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Fine, thanks.
And Happy New Year to
And
you.
Happy New Year to all our viewers. And we wish, we welcome you from the old year to had a lot of turbulences. But we wish that the new year comes with a new serenity.
That's what we always pray for.
Yes.
Whenever we enter there. And then when we get into there, the realities start to kick in
Yes.
every now and then. And
Yeah.
speaking of realities,
Because they are wishes.
there are oh yeah,
When they are
that's, we
coming
wish
in,
you a
they are
happy new year.
wishes. Yes.
And then the reality kicks in right there.
Yes.
Okay, speaking of the wishes and realities of what the new year holds, and since you're the one who started by that, by calling them wishes, I'm actually going to start from you to tell us what you think about the economy of Uganda last year and what you think about the growth of the economy this year.
Thank you very much. I welcome the members that I've found here. It's my first time here at Urban TV.
Oh, welcome. You will keep that seat.
Yes, thank you. And I'm very glad you invited me here to speak to the nation. So once again, my name is Bataringaya Basir Rwankwene.
Wankwene.
Yes. I'm a member of parliament for Kashar North, Mbarara district. I'm also the chairperson of Ankore parliamentary group. I'm also the NRM whip for Greater Ankore. That's why you see this one here.
In that kind.
Yes.
So when they come to you and say you are government,
Yes.
they are
So
right.
they
know
will
the-
be
okay.
right.
Okay.
So last year, 2022, we wish it was like 2020. When we were entering 2020 from 2019, everybody, even nicknamed it 2020, we said everything rose about 2020. But the moment we entered it, from March, turbulence, we were in the middle of the ocean with the beginning of COVID-19. And for the 1.5 years that followed, it was terrible. Now, 2022, we began it also when we are already still in COVID-19. So it has had 4 or 5 major issues to me. One, COVID-19 had its devastating effects. We were recovering from COVID-19, but the effects were still on. Number 2, during the year, another issue of Ebola came in. So those ones who live around Movende area and they know they know what it meant. In fact, for them, they have had double tragedy this year. So we are lucky that it was contained and never spread across the country. But for the 2-3 months that it was around, the effect was already bearing on us very hard. 3, during the year, we are an agricultural-based country. The majority of our population live on agriculture, both crops and animal husbandry across the country. It's the major stay of our country, our economy. So we had very severe drought across the country. I grow crops personally. I keep cattle, but there is 25 acres that I grew, and I never harvested any maize from it. I just cut it for my cattle. it dried up at flowering stage, 25 acres. And this was across the board for very many people. And this is, I think, the highest food has ever gone high. And what do you call these people who make fun? They started saying that, what are they called? These ones who go to theater to make fun. Comedians started saying on to TikTok that now we should start mingling cement and eat it. Because posho, our main food, went 3 times higher than a bag of posho. I mean of cement. So people are saying we should start eating cement. So the drought hit us very hard as a country. Thirdly, actually, let me give another example. There is a person who grew maize down there in Rwampara, a lot of maize. And so it dried up. So he went back and took a loan from a circle and grew, and said that since our land also grows very good Irish potatoes, let me take a loan and grow Irish potatoes. It is the third catastrophe, the fourth catastrophe that I'm coming to. So he took a loan and grew Irish potatoes and beans. What happens? The rains set in. When they came in, rains came with venom. Hailstorm smashed the Irish when they were beginning to flower. Complete. And what was left on the ground was ice blocks. All the beans, all the Irish were smashed. This person took a loan from a circle. So when I met him in Barara and he asked me, now I'm going to buy a rope and put it around my neck. I told him, no, you go and read the book in the Bible of Job. When you read it, you will persevere. So that was the first catastrophe. Rains which came with venom, hailstorm, floods, low-lying areas had effect of their crops and pasture land being submerged. And then effect on roads. So you know what the roads, what we have been talking about. It has been a major issue in Parliament to the extent that one of us said that we could declare a state of emergency as a country on the issues of roads. So those are 4 issues that were, to me, very devastating in 2022, affecting what we are discussing today. What we expect the economy to be coming from these devastating effects.
Do you think it's going to spill over into 2023?
Yes, it has already spilled over because if you check people around, what they are posting on social media, people are very, very broke. But the good thing is that apart from the devastation of the rains came with a lot of food. And our inflation in Uganda depends a lot on food prices.
Food prices.
So when they say the growth was anticipated to go by 3% and went by 4%, towards the end of the year we had a lot of food. I don't know whether it is one of the effects.
No, it is.
On the growth rate. If it is, we are very thankful. But the other issue we shall discuss, I think, along the way with my colleagues, is that while this factor, which is helping our economy to defy the predictions of saying it is going to grow by 3% and it grows by 4% by itself, acts of God, rain and what have you, we, in the management of the country, we are not investing to tap into it, because if we were, it would no longer be 4%, but higher. Okay. All the rains, all the water we are complaining about, which was sweeping our valleys, is resting in Egypt,
Mm.
being
Through the
used,
Nile.
being used
Mm.
better.
For irrigation.
For us, we are crying. If you go in the next 2 months, we shall go into our valleys and they will be like pancakes.
Interesting.
But we never trapped this water. So it means we must have a change of mindset as a country, begin with our comparative advantage, invest in it, and then it spans us into other sectors, which we shall discuss with our colleagues.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Francis, you had the submission of Honorable Basil here, and he talks about inflation. We had our inflation go to double digits for the first time, very, very long time. You know, he's talked about rains and drought, and in my spirit, it was just screaming climate change effect. But here we have a projection of 5.5% growth in the economy. You work with the members of the private sector from different, professions of what they do. Others are agriculturalists, others are, different things. Do you really think, like, and I'm going to use his words, Honorable Basil, are these wishes that we shall achieve the 5.5% growth, or it's just one of those things that we may not?
Thank you very much, Dallon, and good morning, our viewers again. Francis Chisirinya is my name. I'm the Chief Membership Officer at Private Sector Foundation. Yes, I think the forecast of 5.5% in terms of GDP growth, I think is attainable, and I really, personally, I don't have any doubt that we will achieve it. But below it, remember that the estimates are driven by mainly investments in oil. So we might have a situation where we have most of the GDP growth coming from
the oil sector.
The oil sector, investment in oil, but the other critical sectors that we've been having, agriculture, manufacturing, might not actually have the same level of growth. And that is, there are challenges around that. Because as you can see, you would be starting to touch the influence of oil in our economy, which if it over-influences the economy, the oil sector, then it is not really a good thing. So the important thing is for us to see how much can we ensure that we can have more growth from the other traditional sectors we've had that I've mentioned, agriculture, manufacturing, services, and stuff like that. Now, I think the whole all of last year and the beginning of this year, the big questions that we're struggling with is in terms of the business environment. It's definitely not favorable at all. I think the Honorable has put it very, very, very clearly. There are big challenges there. But the biggest of them all is the fact that you have low demand, very few people are buying things. Okay? If you could pick the stories around Christmas sales from the various trading centers and trading areas, everybody was saying, we've not seen the customers coming to buy our stuff. No, this is been on for a long time. Even before COVID, by the way, we still had weak aggregate demand. COVID has made this worse. Ukraine continued and now it is a very, very, very big challenge. Yet the business people are struggling with increased cost of doing business amidst reduced demand
for the products that are actually
which means that the margins are very low. Because you see, when you're selling, you ask yourself, why am I not selling more? Maybe it is the price, So sometimes you might have seen that in several sectors, several commodities, you have not seen the increase in the cost of doing business has not been very commensurate with the prices that are increasing. So the investors and the business people are taking more of the increased cost, meaning that their margins start being lowered. Now, the challenge with that is that in the end, it affects your investments. That is why you are having agriculture performing poorly. By the way, the Honorable put it very well. In the last 2 quarters, and we have statistics already, if you look at the economic report that has just been released by Bank of Uganda, agriculture production has been growing at a negative
Trend.
trend for the last 2 quarters. You know, the challenge is in terms of people very comfortable investing back the money. Can they, you know, now that can they go into technologies like water harvesting, irrigation, when actually they cannot sell most of the things or some of the things that they produce. So this becomes a very big challenge for the business people and for the economy. But having said that, I think what we see on the horizon is that most business people, they feel optimistic. You know, they feel that, okay, things will improve. and Bank of Uganda has actually forecast that possibly about end of beginning 2024, you know, inflation will be lower, back to the normal 5%, the GDP growth will actually have picked up. But let's not forget that the things that we are meant to do before COVID, we've got to remember and pick up on them. One of the things we know is that if we are going to grow our economy to absorb unemployed people, GDP must be growing at not less than 7% consistently for a long time. So these are things that really we have to do. So the kind of interventions that we make to bring us back to that will be very, very important.
How long do you think it will take? According to, you say, Bank of Uganda's report, they look at 2024. In your view, how long do you think we're going to take to achieve that?
I think for me it's okay. It may come 24,
So
24. Okay. But we're talking about 5-6%. But the real growth rates that are going to really make a change in this economy are 7-10%. You know? So these are the ones we should target. Yes, we've been hit by COVID, by all this stuff, true. What are those specific things we can do to really create new momentum that can get us to those because now people are not stopping to have children. Children are continuing to go to school, and they are growing, and they are going to come to the job market. So we really have to work much, much, much harder to ensure that we are able to deal with the situation of unemployment.
Thank you so much.
You want to add in
information?
Yes, just a small rejoinder. Because you see, one, if you, by the way, there is another devastating issue that I had forgotten. Maybe it's time to mention it. The rise of fuel prices as a result of maybe the Ukraine war. I am saying maybe, but I think it had an effect on it. For the first time in this country, diesel, which
has always been cheaper.
Yes, has always been cheaper, but it is the main driver of the economy because it is for the factories, for the manufacturing sector. It is the one of the major transportation. It is higher than petrol. It is something that we are taking for granted. And I want to tell you, this is Bank of Uganda people, wherever they are, and those who are managing the economy, to me, they are sitting back. They are not doing their job. They are depending on a hunch. We are just surviving by the agricultural sector. It is the one that is people who are satisfied, who have food. The majority have food. There are many people also who don't have food. But because people have food, they don't react. Hungry people can be very deadly. So they project that we shall grow by this percentage. But we are not investing in those sectors that are supposed to grow. So if you took agriculture that I've just mentioned now and you put in just a little more money, I forget the amount of money we are percentage. 1.4 trillion. If you increase the 2 trillion now and invested that 8.8 into technologies, machination, irrigation, and so on, and increased the the productivity, and also value addition in the agricultural sector. Those factors. This prediction, by the way, they would naturally employ the people we are talking about. Those irrigation, value addition, and so on. They would capture some of the people to employ. So what does it mean? We must, and I say we must change our strategy and invest little, but in those comparative advantages which don't need complete startup. You just put in money and you are on the move. Then the rest, the other ones which we are talking about, the oil industry and so on, they will come in. But even people who are coming to the oil sector, there will be many, they will need food.
Okay.
So, that is my rejoinder.
Yeah,
so I predict that the economy will grow. However, it is going to grow it is going to grow by hunch to me. It is not going to grow by planning.
By planning.
Yes.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Julius, you deal in figures all the time. Julius here is the ED of CSBAG. That is, he mostly looks at budgets and how expenditures are made. And if you hear the two gentlemen, they're saying, yeah, the economy is going to grow, and they're basing on investing on internal factors that are hindering us to achieve that. One would see it, if I use Mr. Francis's word, he said, when you stand on the horizon, it looks like the future is there. Another person would say, wait a minute, there's unrest in the eastern part of Congo, which affects the western part of Uganda. We are seeing cholera outbreaks from Malawi now. Burundi reported the same. China seems to be back where they manufacture most of the things that we actually import. There is a war in Ukraine where we don't know when it will end. And those two countries have been very, when they were affected, the impact rolled down to Africa here. China's manufacturing of products went down because there was no labor to go and do some of those things that have been on pressure to see that let them just open the economy so that people work. Those are external factors that are likely to affect Uganda. Do you see, if you look at the internal factors and the external factors, are we achieving the 5.5% growth?
I think for me,
in part of the internal factors, you can actually also include borrowing money because it's going to facilitate some of the budget we have. Yeah.
You know, when this crisis started, these crises, for me, was like, how are we prepared to deal with them? Because they are not going to stop tomorrow.
No.
There is Ukraine and Russia. Maybe China and Taiwan might come. Maybe you never know, and you are not in control. But how do you organize your country to ensure that you are cushioned from these external shocks? And sometimes I think we don't see that. Why? Because when they said Ukraine and Russia started fighting, I can say oil, fine, but wheat. Don't we have the capacity in this country to produce wheat? And that you can just open up one land, put tractors, and wheat will grow. Within 5 to 6, you will have wheat in abundance in this country.
Yes.
We did not do that. Have we done then that we should plan that and start doing it? Then they said, oh, palm oil. We've been having palm oil in Kalanga for the last 10 years, I think.
Yes.
Didn't we think about expanding that project? Actually, it's one of the successful projects. It's one of the most successful PPP projects in this country, private, public-private partnership. One of the success. Couldn't we get the same model and expand the production? Because these are the things that really you find that we depend on, but we're not producing it. We have the capacity. So have we learned from these crises? And unfortunately, the answer is no. Why? Because agriculture, which, when we say it is the backbone of the economy, it is true. Because for it, you don't need, it is working by the miracles, by nature, by God's grace.
It's self-engineered.
Yes.
Adding small money, the dividends are so high. But we have not done that. Still, we are saying, okay, let's keep on projecting. Yes, the projections will be there. But we could do better than the current projections. That's what I'm trying to, that we can do better than the kind of projections. If we are to deal with issues of employment, if we are to deal with issues of increasing production, if we are to deal with issues of increasing productivity, we need a GDP growth of not less than 10% in this country. So you can't say, oh, we had 5.5% and you are very happy. No way. We'll still come back to the same problem if a small shock happens. If another COVID comes, we'll go back to the same position. And therefore, for me, is what do we need to do in this country to go beyond these problems? One of them is about markets. And he will tell you that businesses are driven by markets. If today you tell the honorable member of parliament that, by the way, the price of milk has increased, it's now at 2,000, let me tell you, he's going to think twice coming back to parliament than going to go back and for the milk, because he's assured of the market that is there. So far right now, markets are there. You have Morocco, they want our milk. South Sudan, they want our milk. West Africa, they want our milk. And we can't forget about the Kenyans, because when they wake up on the wrong side of the bed, they put an non-trade barrier. What have we done in this country to show that we produce quality milk? Because no country is going to say we are taking your milk when you have foot and mouth disease in your area for the last 2, 3, 5 years. You've not controlled it. Because other countries who had it, they were able to control it. But the mechanism of controlling it is not there. So the moment you bring America and they test it and they find something, please first deal with that. And it's genuine. It's a genuine reason. Issues of safety, I mean, are very clear. If you say market for maize, and they take your maize and they put that they call them aflatoxins.
Yes.
I mean, you get stuck with your maize and you feed it to your fellow Ugandans. I mean, and you wonder whether Ugandans are different from other people. So, if we could concentrate on identifying markets for Ugandan products, even all the money we're talking about, people in this country will go and invest in that particular sector. And this is where I get the point of, where are we then, why are we not putting in this money? I think we are setting wrong priorities. Yes, we want to build vehicles, and I've said it again. We want to build vehicles, we want to build buses, we want to go to the moon. Now I understand what we are going to the moon. And I think those things are very important, and I'm not underestimating them.
We are switching to electronic borders.
Yes, electronic border. I mean, they're important, and I'm not underestimating them. But in a country like this, you need to identify your low-hanging fruits. That, like he rightly said, that you don't need to start up. If you know that the Indians, don't even go beyond the African continent, that the Egyptians, the Sudanese, the Nigerians, they need this type of banana. Because I know our bananas are the best in the whole world.
Yes.
Our pineapples are the best. I was told that the Japanese don't like our pineapples because they are very big.
Yeah.
What have we done with the narrow tourism? Please, can we help farmers produce more pineapples? And one of the Cantankerous example I have been giving is, if the Japanese wake up and say, we love your watermelons, but we need to square the watermelon. Can Naro do that to help farmers? Because we have land, we have our nature. Can we do that? So investing in identifying markets for our product is a game changer for this country. Let us forget about these orders. No. Let us invest in identifying markets for our products. I have told people this PDM we have been talking about.
Comparative advantage.
This PDM, I know in my area, people told me, said, no, don't talk about that. We should look for extension workers, new seeds. No. For us, our problem is market. A bantu matoke in my area is, sometimes it comes down to 500 shillings. But I know in Kampala is 20, 30. So taking my matoke to Kampala is the best thing I can do. You can say, well, that is a game changer for a farmer in that particular village. So that's one thing, investing in markets, both internal here, but also taking advantage of the African region. We might not, because of the safety, because of the standards in Europe and America, it could be something difficult. But in Africa, I'm telling you, we can do that.
Let me just add one point to you. We are giving how much to the 100? I've forgotten the amount we give to a parish.
100,000.
100 million.
100 million.
100 million.
Yes.
Now you can buy a truck. Suppose the community is banana
Yes.
growing. I'm just adding a rejoinder to his point. They are selling matoke at 2,000 to 8,000 in that range. Matoke in Kampala is 20,000. Now
No,
it's
now it's
60,000.
60.
60,000.
60,000
A bunch.
A
Yes.
bunch.
Bunch, yes.
Yes. So now these people say you give us our
100,000.
our 100 million, we deposit it on a fuso truck, and we have a driver in the village already.
Our
To
son is a
transport it
driver.
Son is there. We have a turn boy. Take our matoke. Instead of a middleman coming and buying it here at 2,000, take it and sell it. You know, you sell 2 trucks of matoke and you buy another fuso.
Immediately.
Mhm.
And see, for
So
for me, that's you see, that's the game changer. But also is also on organizing our
Yeah.
farmers and markets.
Yes.
I've heard of information. A country came and said, by the we need 100 tons of onions per week.
Yeah.
And and one guy was saying, okay, we can do that, but probably we can supply for only 2 weeks and then we stop.
And we shall stop there.
Let's stop there.
And onions take
Yes.
3 months.
And I remember my Minister of Finance, he has a very, very, very good, candid experience when he was given a tender to supply goats.
Yeah.
He came back very excited and he looked for goats. He could not find the goats because some were 15 kilograms, some were 10 kilograms, others were black, others were white. And they were like, you need to have a standard. of whether they- So when we don't organize, you see, you need to organize farmers. You need to organize, our markets to know that this is a kind of market that is, when you know the conditions that the market requires, then you plan back. We are not doing that as a country, and I challenge the members of parliament that when you go back to parliament, let us put these things to government to organize our farmers. Lastly, for me, I think is the question of the things we need to do better. I think the debt question has come up now. I mean, we would say we are sustainable, and I think the issue is also saying that we are still sustainable, but now the tone is a bit low.
It's going down.
It's going
The
down.
tone was vibrant then.
Was by no, we are okay. 2 years ago, we are okay. We can manage it. The fiscal space was still there for governments to pay its obligation, but also have enough balance to deal with the current challenges that we are facing. But I think now the space has narrowed. The fiscal space has narrowed to the extent that even when the budget has increased from 48 trillion to 49 trillion,
49 trillion.
Spend
no,
is
actually
less.
it's 50 trillion because it's 49
Point something.
nine
Okay,
trillion, yes.
let's round it off to 50 trillion.
It's now 50 trillion. The discretionary spending of government, what our whole members are going to appropriate, has reduced by almost 2.5 trillion.
Yeah.
Because government now has to pay more attention to
The debt.
debt issues,
Mm.
which means that we have less money to deal with any shock that is likely to come.
Mm.
It means that we have less money to think of new projects that are going to come.
Mm.
But also it means that we are going to have less money to project and do new startups that probably that we want to do as a nation.
Mm.
Put more money in agriculture, maybe put more money in looking for new markets in this country. So I think the debt question now is going to be very, 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 very prominent on the table.
Mm.
When you look at the numbers now, and this is vivid, you say if you are paying a debt, where do you get the money to pay debt from? You get the money to pay debt from URA. What URA collects is
What
what
you
you spend. You spend on. If business are not doing well, URA collections are going to
Collections
be
will
low.
go low. Mm.
But I'm glad that over recent, URA has been performing very, very, has really, despite the challenges, they're doing well, and they are projected to collect more, around 28 trillion. But when you look at how much interest payment is going, how much our domestic revenue will go to interest payment, we are projecting now that it's going to be 34% this financial year, but it's likely to go to 42% in the next financial year, almost half of the entire revenue collection is already budgeted for. And honorable members, that one they don't negotiate. It is already, so they will tell you now, you only have this to decide. So when you look at that, you want to remove salaries. Now, you know, there is very true. So I think for me, is one of the things we need to do right now is to go back to the table, go to zero budgeting, and say, you know what, there is no money, but what do we need to spend on? This business of incremental budgeting, we have a new road here, then it has add another kilometer. I think that should stop. It's a question of saying, this is what we have. What can we do with it? This is the basket. This is the little money, the envelope that we have. What should we do with it to make us survive? And that's why now the debate of debt is going to be quite. We need to have sober minds, because you don't need to do the Ghana way. So the Ghana, remember, in terms of democracy, so we follow that one. You know, we look for.
They are the
like
fathers
Ghana.
of democracy in Africa.
If you come to fiscal discipline, they are the best, they're champions on the African continent. But for them to stand out and say, we are unable to pay you people, please, we can't pay, we don't have money. Something fundamentally, they are sending a very strong signal to the African continent. Even as Uganda, to say, if your debt comes to 70%, because now we are coming to 50%, you're in trouble. We are at 70%, very good fiscal discipline. They have oil. Remember, for them, oil came out very quickly. If us here in the state we are in, and Ghana there in the state they are in are unable to pay their debt obligations, what should we do now to avoid that scenario? And there is only one thing we need to do: cut the appetite to spend on each and everything in this country. This business of creating new districts should completely stop. In fact, we should be talking about merging. This business of delaying to negotiate, to talk about rationalization of agencies, it should start yesterday. You don't need agencies that are duplicating services. You can't have Public Service Commission, Education Service Commission, Health Service Commission, all of them trying to recruit government civil servants. You should have only one. You have UNEP and a few. You have UNEP, then there is the Nurses Examination Board, then there is a Technical Examination Board. Have one examination board. I mean, this does not require rocket science, my dear friend.
Yeah, I like the submissions you've made, and something you raised that was very interesting. Before you came to that, you talked about mobilization, you know, how organizing farmers and things like that. And I remember that we signed, there was an agreement there's an agreement actually between Uganda and Morocco to export milk. The other day, actually yesterday, but the other day, Zambia released its report and said that the consumption of eggs has gone up, and there's now scarcity of eggs, because they realized that on average, one Zambian eats 57 eggs a year. Now there's an increase, there's demand, so they're encouraging people to produce more, to have more chicken, to have eggs and all that kind of thing. I'm certain Mr. Francis here knows that in Congo, they import offals and meat from Turkey and the other places. Yet we are neighbors. Of course. We could literally just take this meat across the border. And that's why I posed the question, Francis, what's happening? Why don't we take advantage of Zambia? We have an airline that goes to Zambia. We have a road that, yes, we've built.
No, we are building a road to Congo.
What is stopping us from taking
even security? We are trying to secure
advantage of this demand just right next door.
We are securing for others.
I actually found out that a kilogram of meat in Uganda is 15,000, but you could buy it at 35,000 in Congo.
50,000 in Kinshasa.
How much?
50,000.
There you go. So why not? Why? And we have still an airline, Uganda Airlines goes to Kinshasa. What is the problem?
No, I think the issue you are really raising that, okay, we have all this opportunity, all these markets around us, you know. Now, the big point is to try to ensure that we are able to supply them efficiently and economically. Now, there are a few things that go along with this. So one of the big things we have actually noted as PSFU, and a lot has been missing about it, is we rarely talk and think about the logistics that are required to move certain things to certain places. Now, if you look at the market in Congo, it's fundamental, it's excellent, it's quite big. But what logistics can support us to exploit these markets? I'm glad that we knew already that the challenge that we're having in Congo is about how to move our goods there. And therefore it is important to open the infrastructure in Congo, which is a very good thing. That is a plus. Now, in other markets, what can we do? Like, for instance, if you look at the markets that are in
But just a minute. We are opening a road, and people who think faster than us are bringing the things. If you go to East DRC, there are banks that are not ours.
Yes, that's a fundamental issue that we really have to, when we open and we go there, we really have to take a full package, you know? Logistics, I said, is one of them. The second thing is the people to trade in these places. Now, how well do we prepare the business people to trade in these markets? How do we facilitate them? He has talked about one thing already. The financial services are not there, and businesses need financial services. The banks for extending trade finance, the insurance companies to cover the risks, you know, you need all of that. You need things that can support. It's not so fundamental in the regional market, like on standards, for instance, in Congo might not be big. But it's important for other markets like Algeria, Morocco, Zambia, and stuff like that. How do we prepare our businesses to actually sell quality products in these places? For the big companies, a bit okay. But for the smaller ones, it's a big problem. So we also need to do two things. Just like we like to organize farmers to grow and supply these markets, we also need to organize the micro and small enterprises so that they are able to add value and take advantage of these markets. At PSF, we had something that we did a few months ago, is we realized that there are so many small enterprises that are in production. People are producing something, a wine, a piece of soap here and there, and things like that. But many of them would not have a quality certification. Now, meaning that when you go to the markets, people ignore your product. And what is stopping these people from getting the quality marks? The biggest component of that is the cost at which these certification marks are got. So now, that was a big barrier, and people spent so many years without getting certification. So we attracted some little funding, and then a number of these products have now been unlocked. They have been certified by UNBS, and they are there. So now, if you are able to trade in Uganda well with a quality product that is competitive in quality, price, and stuff like that, it means you are able to also sell that product in a neighboring market. So we need to organize ourselves together and take advantage of these markets in these particular places, like in Congo, as you have said, in Zambia, you know, and the rest of the markets.
Eggs?
The eggs, yes.
No, but you see, I think there's something which you need to do is that how many eggs do we produce in this country? Do you have that data?
The statistic is not there.
How many tons of onions do we produce in this country?
So we don't have data.
How many tons of what? We don't have that data. We don't. Somebody will say, please give me pineapples. Because you have seen people carrying a lot of pineapples around the town, you might think, oh, in this country we grow a lot of pineapples. My friend, if you say, provide 20 tons of pineapples, you say, I will get them. And indeed, the first round you get them. The second round, you won't even get a ton of pineapple.
I rejoin that too.
Yes.
You see, we have become a jack of all trades. Yes. If you move across the country, you'll find that during, I recall it, the colonial times, and people, forgive me, don't think that I'm saying they were better times, but there was better planning
And
organizing. Now, coffee, you would know that coffee is grown in this. People tested soils, and they know this soil is for Arabica.
Yes.
This is for Robusta. This soil is a lot more whatever the language they use is for good for cotton. This one is for sunflower. So right from what you said at the beginning, today if you say we shall produce wheat for East African and Central African region, and we went to northern Uganda, and if the soil is allowed for wheat to grow, you don't even, there are no trees to cut. You just go with the tractor and the plow. In 2 months, the soil has set, you plant.
Then you plant.
4 months down the road, the whole of the East African region is having enough food. So the planning is what is our biggest problem. So we become a jack of all trades. Anybody can grow maize, anybody can grow pineapple, anybody can grow onions, anybody, and then
I actually wanted Mr. Francis to conclude on his point. Yeah. You joined something, you were adding to his point.
We interrupted him.
Yeah. Yes, now, so we really, to exploit these markets, I think we need to work on the organization. The support, the financing is very, very, very important. After you have organized people, you have worked on the research for the products, the markets and stuff like that, you need the money that people need to actually use to trade. Now, the cost of money today is quite expensive in Uganda. I'll give you a very good example.
I just want him to summarize that and leave this in 1 minute so we can go further.
Yes. We did a lot of work finding, trying to open markets in Congo and Somalia and whatever. But the problem was that in this market you could never find export finance, which is so specialized. It wasn't there at all. And therefore, people who are supposed to trade there were always getting problems with the export finance. But I'm quite happy that this time the private sector took the bull by their horns and they've created a solution for themselves. And I would like to thank the Uganda Bankers Association and the Uganda Bankers who created a fund equivalent to 1 trillion shillings for whoever wants to export in the region. You can go to the banks and access this money. The interest rates are lower, so you can trade. So meaning that at least that is one hurdle that has been overcome. But it's not enough, as we know, because, for instance, if you started selling coffee to Sudan and you are using that money to support the coffee trade in Sudan, I think it won't be enough. So those things are so important for us to do. Then we have to add on our own capability as companies. Our managers, are they able to run the businesses to that level that is able to exploit those particular opportunities that we have? We need capacity building. What we have done as a country is we've worked on the capacity building for the people who are on the production line, people who need the technical skills, but we have not done any capacity building for the managers. We tend to think that the managers know it, they can do it. We are not doing it. We need to put some effort to train and to expose the managers to run the businesses in such a way that they are able to take all the opportunities that are available in the country.
Thank you so much, Francis. You're still watching the Press Wall, and we are discussing about Uganda's economy in 2023. Will it grow? Or let me borrow Honorable Basil's words, or they are just wishes. Let's take a break, and in return we'll look at more on more topics just around the same as we go ahead.